Hi, ROCKPOINT. This is Pastor Ken, and I'm going to share a verse when I found in the Bible when I was studying this morning, and it's in 2 Corinthians 5:20, where Paul tells us, "So we are Christ's ambassadors. God is making his appeal through us. We speak for Christ when we plead, come back to God." This kind of brought me back to when I was a young boy, and I was living in Japan. I was probably about 9, I guess, and I went to a scouting event where I got to meet the U.S. ambassador to Japan. Living in a foreign country, I often felt a little alienated because I wasn't with other people from the U.S. a lot. But when I met the ambassador, I had a sense of comfort and belonging. Like, yeah, he's one of us. And years later, when I was in business, I had the privilege of having lunch at the U.S. Embassy in London. And as I looked at all the portraits of the different ambassadors since John Adams in, I think, 1800s, hanging on the walls, and I was surrounded also by my fellow countrymen, I experienced that same feeling of comfort and belonging that I had experienced when I was a young boy living in Japan. So in this verse, Paul tells us we are to be like ambassadors. And why did he use this illustration or this parallel? Well, ambassadors are usually appointed by the president or by the king, and they carry out the instructions of their ruler. They know that their stay in that country is only temporary. So they don't conform to the customs of that country, but instead they still represent their country in a way in their dress and the customs at home. I remember living overseas trying to find a turkey for Thanksgiving because not everyone celebrates Thanksgiving, and but we kept those traditions. They often stand out, so we stand out as being different, and you know they're not from that country that they're residing in at that time. So as an ambassador promotes their leader, their country, and the benefits that they offer. They use the resources of their home to help other countries when there's a natural disaster or something happens or the country's in need. So can you see the similarities and why Paul calls us Christians ambassadors? So aren't we as Christians supposed to be doing these same things since we represent heaven, our real home here on earth? Standing out is different by not conforming to this world. And as Paul stated, spreading the message of Christ or the message of the good news for God. So as Christians, we have been commissioned as an ambassador by God, our sovereign leader, with a ministry, as Paul says, of reconciliation to the world. And we are representatives of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I think, wow, what an awesome privilege and responsibility this puts on us. He has entrusted you and me with spreading his message. Have a blessed week, and soon I'm hoping we will gather at our own kind of embassy once we're allowed to go back to our church home. Have a great week.